I mean, look, how could I not start the recording when you I don't even know, words fail me. And it's very rare that I have nothing to say, but never have I.
So we might as well just end this podcast now.
And so thanks for being on. Let's just crack on and hope everybody enjoyed it.
There you go.
Well, I mean, so here we are with the Jeff Dickinson, Logistics Transportation, the man, the myth, the legend. Glad that we finally got to hook up and get some time together as well. Sorry to disappoint that I'm not wearing that sequin dress that I promised.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. You know, that's not good. It's not a good way to start this off, Mark.
But you are wearing a hat. Now, listen, in anticipation of you wearing your hat, I have a little something here, which I don't know.
You asked me to do it.
I did. Is this just going a bit too far?
No, that's perfect, man. Let's just continue like that. You're on my page now, brother.
Oh my God. You know what? It's actually, it's 3 sizes too small. It was something that my then 7-year-old, when we were in Florida on vacation, we pulled into a gas station and my wife was with him paying while I was filling up. And he said, I think Daddy might like that.
There you go.
And I think you got me right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But now I'm supporting local. So we're in Situate, just south of Boston. So this is our little homage to our little town, our little fishing village here, just south of Boston. So dude, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
For taking, all day long. Thank you for taking the time out. I know you're super busy. But when we caught up earlier on in the week, it was very evident that you're super generous with your time, with your mentoring, with anything and everything. And that's the type of individual that I want to hang around with. And I was super excited when you said you wanted to get on the podcast today. So want to go through a few questions, go through the usual Q&A.
Sure.
But I want to end up kind of like focusing on relationship management and sales and the sales process. But before we get to that, you want to give us a little bit of background about like what are you up to? Where are you at? How did you get to where you're going to? If anybody looks at your LinkedIn profile, they're going to see an extensive amount of experience with some monster sized companies. So you've, and I'll say this with the best respect, you've been there, seen it and done it. You've been around the block a few times and you still look young, which is good.
Hey, you know what? I still have my hair on my head being in the logistics industry as long as I have been. So, that is a plus. And maybe it's because, I stopped taking it to heart, but I say that in a good way because, everything that happened in the supply chain logistics field that I've been in all these years, I used to do that. I used to take everything that it was my problem. So my customers' problems were definitely my problem. And I made my problems larger than theirs because I just wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing for them. As far as my career is concerned, I wasn't supposed to be in this career. I'm not kidding you. I had my own business. I had a roofing company back in 1980. I'm aging myself, but so be it. I'm honest. My wife said, hey, there's this warehouse job. You should go and try it. I know you want to sell your business. So I started out at Robert Krupp's of North America in 1980. And so happens that my boss at that time, he was my best man in my wedding, and I'm still friends with him today. And I just started absorbing so much stuff. I went to college part-time. Things just started manifesting from there. I wanted to understand, what other parts of the supply chain logistics industry is there from just driving forklifts and loading trucks. So I just started prying and asking those questions. And I was with Robert Krupp's for a couple of years. And then I went to a big company, Apprentice Hall, Simon & Schuster, Gulf and Western. I was there for about 6 years. And then things just started growing. And did I have some downers? Yeah. But I had so many great mentors and coaches that helped me to be who I am today. They know who they are. I'm still very, very good friends with them. And what happened over that time is that one thing led to another. I was in the CPG industry for 14 years, working for big names like Onkyo USA. It was there for 10 years. My boss, Nick Ziss, he and I are still best of friends, still pal around. He still calls me, asks me for help. It's funny that I used to go after him and say, hey, what do you do? I want to know this. I want to do that. And he was so nice to educate me and to mentor me. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I am who I am today, to be honest with you, because I was lucky enough to have these type of bosses and remember what was taught so that I could help other people, down the road. And then I, went to Jaguar Cars. I went to Ford Motor Company through Snyder National Logistics, who actually got Ford Motor Company as their client. It so happened that Ford Motor Company owned Jaguar Cars at the time. So I went from the unique auto group that Ford had at the time and went to the mothership being Ford. And it was a taxing hiring process. It was not easy. And I learned from some of the best people there, namely Doug Sordoff, Kevin O'Mara, highly recognized supply chain enthusiast and leader out there. Learned a tremendous amount from these gentlemen. And it just started manifesting from there. It went to Panasonic, North American procurement and transportation manager, managing millions and millions of dollars of procurement and transportation for all of their divisions at the time, and went to other places as well. I was the the Northeast Regional Operations Manager for Snyder Intermodal. So I've been all over the place on supply chain and operations side, and have learned tremendous amount of knowledge over that 35-year period of time. And then after that, it's really funny. I don't belong in this space, in the sales side, but one thing that was interesting, Mark, was that I used to get hammered by all these brokers and everything every day. They say 15 to 35 calls a day. I was that guy sitting in the seat. And so I learned what not to do when I go out to my clients. And, you and I had conversations, I believe, strongly in collaboration and working with each individual. It's the only way to do business. It has to be a win-win-win situation where it has to be a win for the shipper, the service provider, the shipper, the service provider, and the carrier. And so here we are today. My business is growing. I partnered with another agency. I do work for Landstar as a certified intermodal agency, and we're growing big. There you are.
God, there's like 100 questions that's coming off the back of that. So you're saying, you're not in sales, but I think the level of relationship management and understanding and empathy that you have, that you demonstrate, your thirst for knowledge, to want to be able to do what you do and do it well, like you're actually a natural sales guy without even realizing it. And I just made a note here, and I'm just staring at it, like the guy that you referenced, that you would go to, and he's giving you this, I guess, this knowledge, and he's teaching you. It sounds like he's very similar to a specific guy that I worked for, and he had a pen down mentality, right? It didn't matter what his day was looking like. It didn't matter if you wouldn't know if his marriage was crumbling and his kids were hating him, right? He was
Me.
like always the professional, right? Always the professional. And you get a paper cut and you go banging on his door to bitch and moan about this paper cut. He's like, okay, come in. Like, I'm just, he's in the middle of a calculation. He's got figures in his head. He's like, right, how can I make you feel better than you did this morning when you got up?
You know what? Some of the best people, I mean, when I worked in the auto industry, that was the most challenging, I would say, part of my career that I ever had. I have my own podcast. I haven't done it in a while, called Blindside Alley. And that's one of the reasons why I called it that, because every day in this industry, you are getting blindsided, and it changes day in and day out. And you mentioned something that I hold dearly to my heart, and what was taught is that when I managed a lot of people, I had an open door policy, and I don't care what I was doing at that time, whether I was under great stress and being taxed. If one of my employees or associates walked through my door, I stopped what I was doing. There was a reason for them coming in my door, and whatever it was, they were more important than what I was doing at that time. And I would give them my undivided attention to make sure that I wouldn't give them the answers to their questions. I would direct them to the answers, because I believe wholeheartedly that if someone creates something for themselves, rather having an individual create it for them, they'll learn more from doing it themselves and understanding how they do it, how they did it, how they got there, and why is extremely important to moving their career forward. And that's how I was taught over these few decades, that, my bosses never told me how to do it. I created so many good things based off their knowledge that they didn't even realize they were given to me, because they were great leaders, and they directed me into the right area in order for me to find it for myself. And once I did, I took it and I ran with it. So yeah, to your point, I mean, I think that's the best way anybody could ever learn, call it street smarts. I don't know, but it does work.
Well, it's taking that knowledge and retaining it, right? Because just because you like work for a great manager, unless you're paying attention, right, you're not going to absorb that and necessarily become a great manager yourself, right? You maybe you're lucky and you do because of osmosis, but you have to really look at that. And that's the same with, and I'm going to be very careful how I say this, but like, my parents very much blue collar individuals. Great, I felt like I had a great childhood growing up, but I think it's very easy to fall into what your parents' ideologies are, because it's all you really know, right? And unless you're paying attention to that and maybe look at some of those situations and say, well, actually, that doesn't align with me, or that doesn't actually feel like it should be right with the world, I'm going to do something different. Otherwise, you get a set of parents who have kids, and they like they're mini thems, and they have kids and they're mini thems, and it's very similar, I think, in the professional environment as well, right? If you don't pay attention to that, then you could, without knowing it, go off and do something very different. Or you could, if you're working for a bad boss, and I'm trying to think of what a definition of a bad boss might be, but you might think that
that's follower.
Right.
A follower, not a leader.
Exactly that, right? Somebody who that you work for, and you look at that and think, well, that's the norm. That's how management should be, and that's how I'm going to be when I become a manager, and that's not the great thing. And so I've said that I've had the privilege of working for some great people. And I've also said I've had the privilege of working for some bad people, because then you get to really understand, this is not the right environment. This is not how you treat people. And when I do become a manager, I'm going to make sure I do something that's different from this. And I've worked for some people that have been, as humans, nice individuals, but just
Absolutely.
not great managers. Like, they shouldn't have been in the positions they've been in.
Another, following your lead, Mark, one of my best friends And I talk with him a lot. His name is Mike Q. I worked with him for about 7-8 years, and he actually started up American Freightways. He's been in the business for a long time. Unfortunately, he's fighting blood cancer right now, and my prayers go out to him. And we're like the best of friends. He's like family to me. And he taught me a lot when I was on the account management side. I mean, some of the largest account that I had was Konica Minolta Medical Imaging, Hitachi Ltd, some big ones. My boss, Mike, at the time, he was a client development executive, manager, director, and he would open up the door and he would send me in to close the deals. And I, if that's a sales side, call it what it is, but I didn't initiate it. I did not initiate that call or going in there. And, to this day, we still talk about, things because I trust him a lot, and he's a great mentor and everything. Hopefully I take the knowledge that I've learned and help other people out. It's not all about me, I don't look at it this way, because, there's going to be a time where I'm going to pass on the next generation that comes up. If I can help to, mentor and coach these people to get to that higher level, if I can, I'll do it. I think it's, I wouldn't say legacy or anything like that, but I think it's what we need to do in the industry in which we work with, in logistics and supply chain. I don't know everything. My career was not based on that. I wanted to know a little bit about everything from cradle to grave within the supply chain logistics, which was on the customer side, on the service provider side, on the carrier side, so that if I had a conversation with somebody that, I would have that knowledge to have an intellectual conversation with that individual to try to help them as much as I possibly can based on what I've learned over the years.
Yeah. See, so coming back to something you said earlier on about you're not, I might be paraphrasing here, but you're not a sales guy. And I think that weirdly we're all in sales, whether we realize it or not, right? But even in your personal life, I'm trying to sell the idea that I'm going to go out with the guys and have a couple of beers on a Friday night to my wife. I'm going to approach that in a way. I'd love to be able to just go and say, hey, I'm just going to go out and grab a couple of beers, but I know that I need to lay some groundwork sometimes. So there's always sales. I should actually say it because my wife's like massively just do whatever you need to do. But like sales and relationship management. So it's, I often try and I can see there's a difference between the two sometimes. And then sometimes for me, they're interlinked. What I mean by that is I know some out and out salespeople that are just literally dialing for dollars, and that's all they do. They're just picking up the phone saying, hey, like in our business of global payments and foreign exchange, it's like, hey, do you have any international payments? No. Okay, great. Do you have any international payments? No. Do you have any international payments? Oh, you do? Well, I know nothing about your company, but let me tell you about my value proposition. That's like, no,
that's
hit and miss.
You hit it.
There's no relationship management involved in that. And good relationship management leads to good sales, I think.
I'll tell you what. Yes. And you know what? I'm a logistics and supply chain guy. I'm not a sales guy. I don't sell freight. I can't sell freight. I know that sounds stupid, but I can't sell freight. And here's the reason why. I can't sell something I don't know. The most important thing to me as an agency owner being in this business is that I have to learn your business. I have to understand your business. Your business is more important than picking up your freight and moving it from A to B. I don't want to do that. Okay. Because if I'm not confident in what is being told, if I'm unable to uncover what I need in order to be successful, in order to service the customer the way that I need to do it correctly, to help them out, I'm going to walk away if they're not able to work with me. I don't care how large of an opportunity is. We have to be totally congruent. We have to see eye to eye. We have to have a mutual understanding with the main objective and goal that it has to be a win-win-win situation, meaning that it has to be a win for the service provider, the carrier, as well as the shipper, because we don't do this for free. Okay. It's like, they have to charge what they have to charge in order to make a profit to sell their goods. Well, the same thing happens with a carrier. The same thing happens with a service provider. We don't do this for free. And it's educating them, especially now today with the volatility in the market, with the carriers out there that are operating at about 37% fuel. It's unsustainable. Spot rates are coming down. The fuel is going up. They're getting squeezed left and right. And shippers out there have to understand that. They have to work with these carriers. Without these carriers, they're not going to make any money whatsoever. They have to learn about carrier needs, because I learned that a long time ago, and I hear these magic words on all these podcasts, and you hear this word flying all over the place, and it kind of bothers me. It's like, when did you realize that the word collaboration was out there? I mean, think about that. That's all you hear is a collaboration. So what the hell have you been doing over the last several years? Not collaborating? Wow, that's a big word and everything. You can't do anything in this business unless you know how to collaborate, period, end of discussion. Any one of those W's are missing, get out.
So collaboration, I think I know what that means. I think you know what that means. But I also believe that there are many out there that it's subjective. Well, collaboration for me is like, I'll give you something, you give me something in equal in return. Like that for them is collaboration. For me, I think, and you, it's way, way deeper than that. Like Absolutely. It's personal, and it's, there's just a million questions that are coming in my general direction, just off the little snippet of stuff you've just said there. Right. I think it's okay to say no to a deal. If you don't, if you don't like it, or if you don't, if you don't want to understand and you feel like you can't do your best, it's okay to walk away from that. There are some
Absolutely.
people that say that, well, get involved in it, fake it till you make it. That might work for some. That's certainly not for me, because if there's a percentage chance that it might fail and selfishly ruin my like my ability to perform at the best of what I really think I can, and ruin my reputation. There's a selfish side of it, but also it could fuck up like so much more that you don't actually see. And coming back to your point, like if you're not if you're not in there and you're not researching and you don't understand like all of the different components, then you can't see like your error, how that has ramifications. And there's been so many times where actually an example's just come to me where in my times working in a bank, like our operations, one of the banks I work for, the operations teams, they sent a large payment to an incorrect bank and they sent it to the wrong bank in the wrong country. Right. But the bank that it should have gone to was a sister company. And when I spoke to the ops guys, I'm like, guys, like this is monster, like biblical proportions. Like we as an organization could be out a lot of money, but also the client is super pissed. And their response was, yeah, but we just get the money back, and then we pay it correctly. I'm like, first of all, there's 1,000 steps trying to get that money back. There's a high risk that we won't get the money back, but the client's pissed. Like that money should have been there today for a specific deal. This is now going to collapse a massive merger and acquisition, and there's going to be ramifications for that. And that's going to have impact on people's jobs. And it goes then beyond that. And then, because it has that ripple effect. Does somebody then lose their job? Do they then not pay their mortgage? Do then they become evicted? I'm going to the nth degree there, but like it's people just thinking that it doesn't matter, right? We can just quickly rectify it. Well, there's always something else that's happening. And so if you understand in your world, and even in mine to a certain degree, like the entire supply chain piece,
Yes.
then I think you can better serve your clients. If there's any element of that you're not really quite sure of, then I think it's okay to walk away. I think it's okay to say, look, I don't think I can give you the best of me.
Absolutely. And you know, I'm fortunate right now, and this didn't happen overnight. I have a lot in my pipeline right now, and I'm grateful for everything. And I'd love to turn it on right now because it's major. I'm not doing that because I need to find out so much more about these few customers that are very large, what they're all about, their operations, what are their pain points, what's working, what's not working, I uncovered a tremendous amount of stuff. And, when you get that nod of appreciation, I think that's what we all work for, it's uncovering and then the acknowledgement that, my business. And it's still not the trigger to say, okay, let's move forward. There's so much more work to do, and with my new partner too, we're going down the right road, but it does take time, Mark. Like you said, it's not as easy as just, okay, I'll make a phone call, you get your money back. No, there's just so many different things that happen and cost factors, and it's not free to do all this work. You're not going to do it for free. You just wasted a lot of my time. You did the same thing. You tied up all this kind of stuff. We don't want that. We want to streamline that process as much as possible. If we have to write and create and implement those work instructions, process improvements, continuous improvement plans on behalf of our customers, even carriers, which I've done in the past, so be it. You do that because what you're trying to do is you're trying to solidify a long-term business relationship. You're not trying just to get in and out as fast as you possibly can. Fortunately, there's a lot of unethical people out there that are money hungry. They'll do whatever they possibly have to do and out. I'm definitely not one of those type of people. I'll take my time. I don't care how long it takes, but I will do it the right way. And that's why you and I get along pretty good, because we got that same mindset. We have that energy level. We have our ideas, we have our plans, our goals, our objectives that we need to make, not just on the business side, but also on the personal side, because they all intertwine, and you're thankful for where you are now from many different, whether it's your wife and your family or past employers where you've gained all this knowledge. I feel the same way on that. I'm beyond grateful.
So I feel like I want to say get out of my head right now, because I was just going to jump in and say exactly what you said there. Like that instant connection that we had literally 3-4 days ago. I felt like immediately I've got somebody who is either a monstrously great salesperson because he's telling me everything that I want to hear, is identified who I am as a personality, and he's hitting all of my right positive triggers, or is a genuine guy and he's just being genuine, and we are just connecting on all of these different points just without even trying. And I feel like it was definitely the latter. Like there was like no effort from I think either side to like figure that out. And I think it's very, those people that are not genuine, I think they get found out very quickly.
Yes.
And regretfully, if they get found out and it messes up a transaction or a deal it can have that ripple effect again on our industry. Like we as logistics people, in your case, or supply chain people, as I actually consider myself a part of the supply chain. I mean, we're moving money, right? If you're helping goods move from A to B, but if money doesn't move from B to A, your stuff doesn't move from A to B, so it has to get paid for. So I think if you do a bad job, you create negativity in the industry, and then you're just making it really hard for good people to sometimes succeed, I think.
No, you're you're right on that. I think in our position, no, let me rephrase that. I don't think, I know that you have to be more of, you have to be an excellent listener first and foremost than a talker.
Yeah.
You have to be a sponge. You have to be able to absorb. And to a certain degree, you also have to be somewhat of a psychologist, because you have to manage multiple personalities, because the people that you speak with are all different. You may be the same person yourself, but you have to be like somewhat of a chameleon, willing to adapt and change based on people's responses, but still have the same goal and objective in mind, to service the customer right. And it's not about the money. It's never about the money, because if you do things right, those things kind of manifest themselves. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to really do much for it. It's all about knowledge and the things that you and I would say to a prospect or a current client that gains that trust and that understanding, in the same type of philosophy and goals and objectives that both sides are trying to get to.
You're right. And dude, again, this is just this. I've got a little bit of goosebump here, because again, you're falling in with our same. You're aligning with our beliefs, right? It's not about the money. No. I mean, look, we're not charities, right? We've still got bills to pay, but it's for us and the people that we partner with, like a customs broker or whoever it might be. They have to align with our beliefs, which is relationship first, revenue second. And the people that we deal with, and I'll name one in particular, like Welke Customs Brokers, for example. What we like about those guys, and we took a while to find the right partner to work with, is that we can pass any business in their direction. It doesn't matter what the size is, and they don't care if they win the business or not. They're just excited to talk about their product and make sure that they help somebody. And that fills us with like pride and happiness and joy. And I also know that they're great people, and I'm not going to get an angry phone call from a prospect or an existing client, right? So again, there's a little bit of selfishness in there, because they're an extension of us. But in order to get into our partnership arrangement, if you will, you have to think like us, or at least you have to you have to have that high level of empathy. It is about the client. It is about understanding the client's needs, even understanding like the client's personality traits as well, like the individuals within the company. And that's why we often prefer to work with partners rather than just going in cold somewhere, because we can at least get the lay of the land. We can understand, what's some of the trigger points? What should I avoid when I talk to this individual? What sort of situation am I walking into here? But even if you're not blessed with that level of information, to your point, you've got to be ready to adapt. You've got to be ready to pivot. Even if you are introduced to somebody, and the conversation's taken a particular different turn or twist, you do have to have that wherewithal to be able to adapt. But I think I much prefer that warm introduction, just because it means that I can really go in and understand, at least at a high level, what the client's about, what their business is about, and then we have the enjoyment of really like learning and understanding the client. And often than not, my meetings last probably longer than they should, because whilst we're talking about the financial side of supply chain, we're talking about moving money globally, paying for goods and services. Like, I want to know about the product. Like, so how did you get involved in selling chicken feed? And like, what does that involve? And like, what does that, I like to get into the minutia more than I probably should, but I find it interesting. I find it fascinating.
Oh, no, you should. This is so funny, because we do think alike, because I know you. Before you go and you do anything, like myself, you're going to do your homework. You're going to go and you are going to investigate who you are calling. You're not just going to find out about what the company does. but you're going to understand that individual.
Yeah.
You're going to know that individual's background, what they do, where they came from, so that you can get on the same wavelength as them. You're talking apples to apples. You're not talking apples to oranges. You know, when you are questioned, you have the answers. You know, that's what helped me out. You know, and I mean, I could talk for hours on this, and I'd love to come back and join you for another one. But you know, when you've worked in that situation on the receiving side of the sales calls, you know what not to say. You know what irritated you.
Yeah.
You sat in that seat. You have that ability to have that empathy, to understand the pressures that these people have. We're in the logistics and supply chain industry. These guys don't have the time. They don't want their time to be wasted. You have to bring that value add to them. That's going to be like the aha moment. Like, what did you say? You know, that opens up the conversation, not that, hey, you know what? I got capacity. I got the best rates in the world, you know, or on your side, hey, you know what? On that foreign exchange stuff, I know the other banks and stuff like that, but you think they're good. Oh, well, we go, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. That's not the point of cold calling, you know, it's not, it has nothing to do with that, you know. Most of my business is word of mouth. And when you have ex-bosses that call you up or give you leads, and then I just had one where one of my old bosses, literally, he's retired. He went to the business that he used to manage, and he brought me in there. And you know, you're only as good as what you did. That you know, going back, did I have some bumps in the road? Absolutely. You know, did I work for wrong companies? Absolutely. But I've never changed my approach ever. And what worked in a lot of major companies, I adapted to what I am doing now, and it's coming along. And last year I did pretty good, and I'm going to quadruple that, if not. You know, I've already told some key people I'm going to do that because I'm focused beyond belief. I love what this is, you know. My saying is, you know, people say, you ever going to retire? I'm never going to retire, because an idle mind is a dead mind. And as long as I love what I'm doing, I don't have a job, man. This is not a job. This is an adventure. You know, it is just an absolute joy. And I enjoy talking to a lot of people, and I have no plans on retiring whatsoever. I mean, that's what I do. I love it, man.
I can't disagree with anything you've said, right? If you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And that's certainly how I feel. And I think you dialed into it this morning. I know you dialed into it this morning, the podcast with Dan Deegan and DJ.
Yeah.
You know, where I mentioned, if on a Friday I'm looking forward to Monday, then I think that's a good thing. Notwithstanding the fact that hopefully you're going to spend some quality time with your family in the middle. But if you're looking forward to getting up on a Monday morning, that's awesome. And I felt, when I was going slightly off at a tangent, maybe, but coming back to learning from managers, etc.
Yep.
I felt that part of my job as a manager, I never said that somebody worked for me. By the way, I hate that expression. I work as a manager. You report to me, but I work for you. Let me invert that org chart. I'm at the bottom, you're here, right? It's my job to make sure that you want to get out of bed in the morning, that you have the tools that you need to succeed, and that you're getting the job done in the time that you can do it. And and that for me presented a tremendous amount of enjoyment.
Because you know what, who are your true customers? Do you know who your true customers are?
What's your definition?
People that work for you. That's your customer.
True.
Your customer it's the same thing as if you're going out and reaching to a prospect or dealing with a customer. every person that reports to you and that you speak to in that office is your customer. You want to treat them as such. You want to treat them the way you want to be treated. You heard that old saying, right? The old adage. But it's so true, and it's funny because you mentioned family before, but I'll throw my wife in there, she was asked, what does your husband do? And she goes, I don't know. I mean, that's the best answer that anybody is. You gotta, sure, I tell her some stuff, but sometimes you just got to separate that, no matter what kind of day that you had or anything like that, you have to have time for yourself to readjust. Take some time, sit outside, enjoy nature, man, sit back. You have to have that time for yourself to reignite what you love to do,
Yeah, I fundamentally agree with that. And certainly in the banks that I've worked at, you can so easily get caught up in working 12-hour days and not even going outside and seeing the sunshine. And it's amazing to me how people then look at you when you go out maybe at 1 o'clock and go to the gym for an hour, and people are like, well, where's your commitment? You're leaving the organization. And my response to that is, like, you need to pay a bit more attention to your afternoons, because I am 5 times more productive after hitting the gym, getting some endorphins flying around, like taking that break, like focusing on something different. And then I can probably get more done in 3, 4, 5 hours in the afternoon than you're going to get in the next 10 hours in your afternoon, because you just become mind-numbingly brain dead. And so you have to, and also it's good for you, like from a health perspective, you have to get away from it, right? From a mental health perspective as well as physically.
Yeah. And you know what? My honesty, integrity is first and foremost. That's where I fail. I really do. My wife bugs me all the time. It's like, you got to go out, you got to walk, you got to go and do this, you got to go and do that. And it's like, I love my business so much that, like I said before, it's not work to me, but man, when I get into it, my energy level is really, really high. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I look at it, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, what the hell happened?
Right.
And it's just like, and you sit there for a long period of time. Yeah, I got to lose some weight, a DJ Flores, right? Love the guy. I have to throw him in there. He challenged himself and lost like freaking 80 pounds. I lost 60 pounds at one time in 5.5 months because I was running 40 miles a week, and I blew out my knees and stuff like that. And then things started going downhill. But you know what? I mean, I got to hand it to him, and it's like, I love a challenge. I know you love a challenge too.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we live for every day, right?
Wow.
Challenges.
Well, now that I know that about DJ, I'll bring that up next time we connect. But yeah, look, even this week, I'll say this and then I'll let you go. But
yes, absolutely.
I excuse me. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. So like every evening, I'll make sure that we sit down as a family. There's only 3 of us. Like we have an 8-year-old, my wife and I. But every evening we make a point of sitting down, and we all want to do that. It's not like we're struggling, we're forcing ourselves to do it. We want to do it. And we have rose and thorn and appreciation statements. So each one of us goes around, like, what was your rose of the day? What was your thorn of the day? What do you appreciate about, my wife? What do I appreciate about my son? And, we go around in that triangle. And when my son was speaking, he said, my thorn of the day is that recess at school was inside today. And I looked at him and I'm like, inside? Why was it inside? Like you like, your school's awesome. Like unless it's minus 50 degrees outside, they're kicking you out. He's like, wow, no, it was the massive thunderstorm. And I'm like, what thunderstorm? And then my wife looked at me, she's like, dude, you're down in your basement in your office. It was hell on earth for about 4 hours. And I actually came up and out. I think it was about 4 o'clock. I walked out into the yard and it was glorious sunshine. It was beautiful. Didn't think anything of it. Then, I went back down into my cave, worked for another hour or so till we all got together for dinner. And then when my son hit me with that, I'm like, shit, man, I've got to make a point of getting out. Like, and it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's that I'm just engrossed in it, like in my work. And to your point, it just goes. Like, I cannot believe we're at Friday already. But yeah, taking some personal time. So I actually have it in my calendar, a pop-up that says just go outside. Like, it's and I must have missed it, or I probably saw it and just
I've got to do that. I've got to do that. My wife keeps on bugging me about that, and she's right. I mean, she's definitely right. It's I got to start taking care of myself too. So,
well, we're not going to be around forever, despite.
Yeah, there you go. But hey, listen, Mark, you know what? I love this, man. I want to do it with you again, man. It's funny how we met and how we hit it off, and love to do this again with you, brother.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Listen, I appreciate you getting on. Yep. Have a great Easter weekend.
Yes, you as well.
Thank you. And enjoy the family, and just keep on looking after those clients and look after yourself as well from time to time.
You got it, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Take
brother.
care. See you soon.
All right, you too. You got it.
Bye.
Bye.